We're going to switch over to Studio B and say good morning to you, Brother Michael Jenkins.
And good morning to you, Tater. And good morning to everyone out there. It's the weekend before all the youngsters are excited, I'm sure. Christmas is always a great time. Right now, though, we're going to talk today about a few things, including local basketball. And I guess we need to start out with the Mullins Auctioneers and their exploits for this past week. Well, you know that Mullins is number one in the state in Class 2A. They are also ranked number 23 overall. And they had a big week. Of course, they visited Marion on Tuesday, and they really took Marion to task, to put it as lightly as I can. The main perpetrators, as Mullins won 60-35. You had Dakari, Dion, and Ford Kid really, really put the screws to Marion in that contest. The game was relatively competitive for the first two quarters, but those guys chipped in and really sent Marion down the road to disaster in that one. It was the stifling defense that left the Swamp Foxes very few offensive options. Those are the things that really pushed them to the brink, from which they couldn't recover. So Mullins ups its record to 10-1, and they had a game Friday night against Lake City, and that was also no contest. Auctioneers 64, Lake City 39. And then they won a game last night against South Columbus. So Mullins is on a roll right now. And they are doing it with outstanding play from everyone that hits the floor for them. I mean, look flawless. I mean, to say the least, they look flawless. And the last time I seen them, which was Tuesday night, and the time before that, over in Mullins. So they are atop the conference right now. They are atop the state right now. And they are giving all indications that they will be a force to reckon with. Or should I say, reckon with, going forward. Here we are, going toward the end of December. The basketball season has been in full swing for several weeks now, and Mullins has really distinguished themselves as a team that could be a problem going forward for anyone who has designs on being a state champion this year. Of course, we know that the lower state, and I believe the state too, is going to be right down the road in Florence. So that would be an ideal situation for Mullins if they were to, because when the playoffs start, chances are they're going to be a number one seed if nothing changes going forward here in the conference, which means they'll be playing home games. And I believe even that third playoff game before the lower state, if they win, they will be in the friendly confines of auctioneer land. Now, let me see if I can do this, because I want to kind of take a look at what their journey has been this year, and particularly the last several weeks or so. I think I saw something today where Mullins is playing Lower Richland today. Uh, let's see. I'm not going to complain about my internet situation, but just know that it's terrible. It seems like the weather today. It seems like when it's really cold, the internet around here works a lot worse. But I have a solution, and it's going to take the purchase of a device to see if I can stem the tide of this internet bugaboo that I get. And it's everywhere. I mean, I go to the high schools, I go to Mullins, I go to Marion. The internet is terrible there. I don't know if that's by design or not. I'm not sure if it's because some kind of blanket they have around the campuses to keep kids from using the internet or getting internet access. I don't know. But all I know is that over the last 2 years, it's gotten worse and worse. I mean, it's about as bad in Mullins as it is in Marion. They're both terrible. I don't know what everybody else is doing there. But for me, I think I'm going to have to call on the services of some other devices. Marion girls and Mullins girls hooked up on Tuesday night as well. I thought this could be tricky for Marion. And the first half was a contest. Both teams battled back and forth. Mullins girls showed their improvement overall from the last couple of years. But the third quarter was when Marion showed that maybe Mullins is not quite ready for us yet, as they went on a big run to start the third quarter and into the fourth. And they ended up with like an 18-point victory over the Lady Auctioneers. But I got to give Mullins girls props. They gave as good as they got, at least for 2 quarters. But Jada Narcisco was the big factor, as she always is for Marion. If they're going to do anything, a lot is going to have to do with her. Because her speed and her relentless playing style really messes people up. I've never seen anyone, well, maybe not, can't say anyone, but the way she uses her speed, and she is a track star, but you know that, right? On a statewide level. How she uses her speed on defense, how she uses her speed on offense it's unbelievable. No one is really safe. No ball handler, no potential scorer is safe if they find themselves on a fast break with nobody in front of them. Because it's not the people in front of her, and there's nobody that's going to be a problem. The problem is Jada coming from behind. I mean, I don't know what her averages are, as far as steals, even as far as points. But I know right now her play has the Marion girls the number 3 ranked 2A girls team in the state. She's on offense, she gets the ball, and she blazes ahead of the field. Sometimes so far ahead of the field that she gets to take more than one shot at the basket if she misses. She'll speed down and clang a layup off the backboard sometimes. but she'll get the rebound and she'll get 2 or 3 more shots if needed. As the defense is finally catching up. So, Marion girls are in position to get a good playoff seeding and to possibly find themselves in the hunt for a state crown this year. Marion boys are having some serious issues right now. If you're going to have serious issues, this is the time of the season to have them. Even though conference games are being played too. But you can pile up a bunch of losses in this, you might call it the pre-season, and you can still be okay if you get enough conference win to get yourself in the playoff. They got 1 win, but last night they got the second loss, and that was against oh boy, I can never remember the school's name, but anyway, they got beat up pretty bad last night. And coupled with the Mullins loss, that gives them 2 losses in the conference right now. Now, I saw some of the other... Now, they did get a win against Kingstree, and that was big. But they're going to need a couple more wins to get themselves a playoff spot. And their problem has been in the backcourt. The guards they've just not played well. Now, I know that against Mullins and against the loss they had against Dillon, their best player, Charles White, did not play. Something about being suspended for something that happened on the court, dunking and getting technical fouls or whatever. But he wasn't available. That changes everything for Marion, because he's one of the key ball handlers. He's probably the best scorer, and he's a great defender. But they didn't have his services. Now, for Mullins' part, the big boy, the Hughes kid, he didn't play either. And he was limping really bad at a game I seen him at last week. Braden. He gives them another dynamic. But Mullins has been able to stem that loss by other cats coming off the bench and playing out of their minds. The depth is what makes Mullins a serious threat this year. Their depth and their talent level. Everybody that comes off the bench can play. Everybody that comes off the bench is hungry. So that hunger coupled with talent equals a problem for everybody. So, but Marion has to find them a guard, or Charles White is going to have to be back in the lineup. Because without him, right now it's kind of not working. Their problem is scoring. A guy that controlled the game and ran the team. Then they had J3. Quickness, could handle it, great shooter. That's why they were so good last year. And then the Felder kid and a few others that they had on the team were able to come in off the bench and, kind of bolster what they were doing. They don't have that luxury this year. The guards that they bring off the bench now are young and inexperienced. And that's a tough place to be when you're trying to get a ball up the court under duress, under constant duress. And then after you get the ball off the floor, now you've got to set something up to run some semblance of an offense. It's not very smooth for them right now. But there's still time for them to clean up their act and get on a road to a playoff seeding, potentially. So that's kind of the way it was this week. I want to take a look at something here. Let's see what we got. Okay. Okay. We're going to take a look at Region 7 for a minute. That's the region with Marion and Mullins and all that. And this is Lady Swamp Foxes. This is the Varsity Boys. And if we take a look at the full standings here, we can see a pattern developing that's going to play itself out in the coming month or so. Mullins is at the top of the conference right now at a record of 3-0. Lake City, which Mullins pummeled the other night, is 2-1 in second place. Atlantic Collegiate is the team that I can never remember their name. They are in third place. And let me tell you, they're good. So I'm not surprised that they were able to really throttle Marion last night, because they almost had Mullins last week. They were that close to winning, to beat Mullins last week in Mullins. So I know that talent-wise, they got some pieces. Marion right now is sitting in the 4th spot behind Atlantic Collegiate, and they are at 1-2 in the conference and 2-9 overall. Mullins right now, after their win last night, is 11-1 overall. And looking at the point difference, so that's 7 straight wins for Mullins. And they are by far the leading, highest scoring team in the conference. It really ain't even close. They've scored 762 points this year. The next nearest cats only scored 476. So the conference shapes up. After Marion, you have East Clarendon, and they haven't won a conference game yet per this standing. You have Kingstree, that's 0-2, and they're 4-7 overall. East Clarendon is 4-2. Manning, apparently, I don't know what's going on there, but they're not looking very good either. So there's some opportunities here. The top 2 teams, Mullins and Atlantic Collegiate, it's going to be tough to beat those guys this year for Marion. They got one more time against each of them, and it's going to take a quantum effort for them to get a victory against the team that handed them these kind of losses. But there are opportunities. The opportunities are East Clarendon, Kingstree, Manning. Now, you could say hypothetically that, let's just say Marion beats all of those teams each time they meet them. That's 2, 4, that's possible, 6 wins in the conference, and that definitely gets you a playoff berth. But they got some things to straighten out before they get there. Looking at, let's see. I wanted to throw out their Marion girls team because you got to hand it to them. They're starting to play better. Chris has really got them starting to play better. So you have a youngster by the name of Janiyah Hall. She's a sophomore, point guard. Kristen Shaw, junior, shooting guard. That's Chris Shaw's daughter, I believe. Shatira Bethay is a junior, small forward, and I really like her. And I like her touching the ball a little bit more. She's a great athlete, great leaper, and she can score. Of course, Jada Davis is a senior, all-state player. Damn, listed at 5. She's 5'1". Wow. Ayani Malloy is another one that can guard, and she can shoot a little bit too. Shemaya McKelvey, Peyton Sawyer, Rakaya Barr, Nevaeh Shaw, Devin Graham. She's a 5'7" senior. Malia Williams is the other resident superstar or star for Marion. She's hard-nosed. She guards. She rebounds. I saw a post by her mom the other day was talking about her leaping ability. She's an athlete. Her grandfather was a great athlete. He was a honey hole legend, Sneeze. I ran into him in the supermarket a couple of weeks. I said, man, have you been out to see the girls yet? He said, no, I hadn't been out there yet. So you need to get out there. Because his granddaughter is a baseball star, softball star too, and track. So their backcourt consists of 2 track stars, Marion. And that's one of the things that really helps them a great deal and makes them tough. They're not very big. They have some size, but they're not a huge team. But they seem to be getting it together right now. And looking at the standings, let's see what we got here. Let's see where they sit currently. Okay, we're looking at Region 7. And Marion is sitting right now at 2-0 in the conference, 6-3 overall. They are currently second to Lake City. Kingstree is next. Let me look at the full standings here. Let's see. So you got Lake City at 1, 5-3 overall. They're 3-0. Marion is 2-0, 6-3 overall. Kingstree is third at 8-2, but 1-2 in the conference. Mullins girls 1-2, 4-2, 1-2 in the conference, and 4-2. Now Mullins girls, where they are right now, they're in a really good spot because they're about in the middle of the pack, and 2 or 3 more wins get them a playoff berth, more than likely. And I'd love to see them in the playoff this year. Manning girls are 0-1 in the conference and 3-4 overall. They come in at 5. East Clarendon comes in after Manning at 0-1 in the conference, 2-3 overall. And Atlantic Collegiate. Now, surprise, Atlantic Collegiate is 0-7. But Atlantic Collegiate girls, they got some pieces on this team. I'm not sure how they lost 7 games, but I know they have enough talent on that team to be a problem going forward. So that's basically the local wrap up here for the week. And I want to take a look at one other thing here, because I really have been impressed with what Mullins has done this year, Mullins boys. They really have distinguished themselves so far. And I guess the tip-off was when I went to their media day. It was a different vibe there. I mean, it was a vibe of confidence by everybody. That's before I even seen them play. Um, but now everyone is starting to see that this could be a big year for Mullins, a huge year, and Mullins hasn't been to state in a while, but right now they're looking like a team that could get back there. Let's see. Okay. I want to mention specifically number 12, Ernest Ford. You may remember last week I spoke of him, and he wasn't a starter until this year. But not only has he become a starter now, he's become a key piece to the Mullins puzzle. And it was really he on Tuesday night that really shut the door on Marion. I think he hit 3 threes in a row. His outside shooting is outstanding. But he does so many other things on the floor that helps them win. So I want to salute Ernest Ford. I can't help but be impressed with what he's done this year so far. Dakari Worley also has just stepped up where he is. If they need a bucket, either he or Dion are going to be the ones to get it. And he hit the big 3 last week ago Friday against the Tech school, and that really tied the game up, and they went into overtime, and they were able to win a game that they could have lost. But Ernest Ford is a big part of that deal. I also want to commend Michael Razor, who's also contributing mightily. Antoine Crawford, who has filled in admirably in the paint in the absence of Braden Hughes. He's taken on more responsibility, more rebounding, more defense, more all that. And I also want to throw out Lonnie Austin, who started in the place of Hughes and really gave a good account of himself. Anyway, I want to also speak briefly on the college football playoffs that's about to go down. And I'm so glad that we've come to this point that finally there's a real playoff. Over the last several years, they've been having 4 teams. Before that, 2 teams. 4 teams does not a playoff make. When I was saying this, people were saying, "Oh man, what are you gonna have all that? You're trying to." No, listen. You can't have a 14 playoff, guys. You got 1 trillion other teams out there that's not participating. How is that a playoff? Now they got 12 teams. I applaud that. I want 16. 16 team, just like Division 3 has, Division 2 has. I think they all got 16 teams. They have a real playoff every year. Division 1 was acting like they couldn't make that happen. With all the bowl games and everything that they kind of had to push to the side to make something like this happen. But if you want to have a tournament and you want to call it one, you got to make it a real tournament. Eagles are doing well. Some big games this week. Steelers. You have the Ravens. Some of them are playing Christmas Day. I like the Eagles, but I also like the Ravens because Lamar Jackson obviously is my favorite player. But the Panthers are still having their issues. That's going to continue until they fill in the holes that they have there. But Zay is still on everybody's radar. He's still doing well. That's great. TJ Sanders graduated, got his college degree this week, while also he's getting a lot of attention from the pros for the draft. And I think that he hasn't announced yet, but I'm thinking TJ's in the pros this year, next year. He'll be playing Sunday football. Anyway, Taylor said that's all the time I got, so I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and I will see you back here next Saturday. I'm out. Peace.
All right,